Picture the smartest person you know. Now, think of the last time something they said surprised you. Not because it sounded impressive, but because it sounded surprisingly simple. That pattern has a name. These 8 phrases are it. Phrase 1. I was wrong. Picture a boardroom where someone has defended their position for 20 minutes, confident, articulate, certain about everything. Then new data appears on the screen that proves them completely wrong. And instead of deflecting, pivoting, or quietly changing the subject, they look up and say 3 words. I was wrong. The room stills for a second, because almost nobody does that voluntarily. Watch what happens, though. People don't lose respect for this person. If anything, the room moves toward them. Adam Grant at the Wharton School of Business found that people who change their minds based on evidence are consistently trusted more, not less, because what they're really signaling is that their goal was never to win the argument, it was to find the truth. Phrase 2. I don't know. Most people treat not knowing like something to apologize for, something to smooth over with a half answer or a confident guess to fill the silence. But think about the last time someone looked you in the eye and said, without any discomfort at all, I don't know. There was something about it that felt more trustworthy than any confident answer would have. Socrates built his entire philosophy on exactly that feeling. He walked through Athens asking experts questions about justice and knowledge, and every time he went one layer deeper, their certainty quietly collapsed. Philip Tetlock at the University of Pennsylvania tracked thousands of forecasters over 20 years and found that the ones who could sit in uncertainty without rushing to fill it consistently outpredicted everyone who always had a ready answer. Phrase 3. It depends. Someone asks a sharp person whether an idea is good, and instead of yes or no, they say, it depends. The room gets a little impatient because everyone wants a clean answer. But watch what happens next. The sharp person starts mapping the conditions out loud. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. It depends on the time frame. It depends on what failure would actually cost you. And by the time they finish, everyone in the room quietly realizes they were about to make a major decision without asking any of those questions. Michaeline Chi at the University of Pittsburgh studied expert physicists alongside complete beginners solving identical problems and found that where beginners jumped straight to answers, experts always stopped to map the conditions first. They naturally reasoned in dependencies, not absolutes. Phrase 4. What problem are we actually solving? Picture a room full of people deep in solutions, timelines, features, costs, arguments about the best way forward. Everyone is busy solving something, moving fast, filling the whiteboard. And then one person quietly asks, what problem are we actually solving? The room pauses, sometimes awkwardly, because nobody had said it out loud yet, and the honest answer is that everyone was so focused on how to solve it that nobody had confirmed what they were solving in the first place. Elon Musk applied Aristotle's first principles thinking directly when building SpaceX. Instead of accepting existing rocket costs, he traced the problem all the way back to its root, and that single habit cut manufacturing costs by nearly 90%. Phrase 5. That's an interesting assumption. Every argument rests on something underneath it, an assumption buried 3 layers down that nobody stopped to question, and the whole structure quietly balances on top of it. When a sharp thinker pauses mid-conversation and says, that's an interesting assumption, it sounds almost gentle, but what they've just done is find the thread in the sweater. One careful pull can unravel the entire argument, not because the logic on top was wrong, but because what it was standing on was never actually examined by anyone in the room. Harvard philosopher Y.V.O. Quine spent decades arguing that most deep disagreements don't come from different conclusions, they come from quietly different assumptions that neither side ever thought to name out loud. Phrase 6. Can you walk me through your reasoning? Most people, when they disagree with something, start building their counter-argument while the other person is still talking, so that by the time the other person finishes, they're already loaded and ready to fire back. High IQ people do something different instead. They pause and ask, can you walk me through your reasoning? And there's something remarkable about what happens next. The tone of the whole conversation shifts. It stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like two people actually trying to understand something together. It's the exact technique Socrates used not to overpower, but to understand how someone was thinking. When people trace their own logic out loud, they often hear the flaw themselves, without you saying a single word. Phrase 7. I notice I'm getting defensive about this. Imagine a heated conversation where your chest tightens, your voice gets sharper, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you know you're no longer really listening. You're just defending yourself. Most people don't recognize that's happened until the argument is long over and they're alone replaying it. But some people catch it while it's still happening, pause and say out loud, I notice I'm getting defensive about this. It resets everything. The energy in the room drops almost immediately, because that kind of honesty is nearly impossible to stay defensive against. John Flavell at Stanford University, who pioneered metacognition research in the 1970s, found that observing your own mental reactions while they're unfolding is one of the strongest predictors of intelligent behavior across every age group. Phrase 8. Both things can be true. Someone frames two options as if they're opposites. You're either with me or against me. Either this works or it doesn't. Either he's a good person or a bad one. And the high IQ person pauses and says, actually, both things can be true. Most people feel slightly frustrated when they hear that, because we're wired to resolve tension, to pick a side, to close the loop. But holding two conflicting ideas at the same time without forcing one of them to disappear is far harder than it sounds. F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote that the mark of a first-rate intelligence is holding two opposing ideas in mind simultaneously and still functioning. And psychologist Michael Beseches later confirmed through research that this kind of dialectical thinking marks a genuinely advanced stage of cognitive development. Every one of these phrases does the same thing. It puts truth above the appearance of being smart. Carol Dweck at Stanford proved that people who treat their understanding as always in progress don't just feel sharper over time, they actually become more capable, and the gap between them and everyone else quietly widens. Most content online keeps you scrolling. Ours helps you grow. Psyche Prism is a page dedicated for creating psychology-backed videos that build mental strength, sharpen focus, and inspire real action that help you break free from feeling stuck and unfulfilled. Subscribe to stop consuming and start becoming, because this is what we do here twice a week. Click on the left video about signs you have a strong personality, intimidating for people, or the right one about you love fixing things. See you there. Goodbye.